Yeah, this is a little more, you got a lot of students that are, they're going to be rowdy. It's, this is probably going to be one of the most hostile environments that we've played in all year. And, I think, their team, they feed off of the, their environment and the home stand. So we got to be ready to go in there with the mindset that, this is going to be a four-quarter game.
News team, assemble!
It's back and bigger than ever. It's the unofficial 40 from Soonerscoop.com. Presented by the Choctaw Casino and Resort in Durant. Now, here's the entire Sooner Scoop crew. Carrie, Josh, Eddie, and Bob.
All right, welcome back. It is the unofficial 40 here at Sooner Scoop Podcast from Soonerscoop.com. And it has been a whirlwind of a week. It started out on Monday with the Browns firing Hugh Jackson and then Todd Haley, and then you had Lincoln Riley being asked about being a candidate for that job. And I'm sure we're not going to hear the end of that anytime soon. I even saw, John Dorsey loving Oklahoma stuff being thrown out there today. And then you've got the college football playoff rankings that came out last night. On top of that, you're going on to your first real road test of the year in a hostile environment. I mean, Iowa State is a road test. They're a good team, but it's not. I would never really call Ames a hostile environment. Not like Lubbock. I mean, this is the place that chanted "F you, Baker" for an entire game the last time these guys went there, which Eddie's like, what's wrong with that?
There isn't.
There isn't.
You know what the funny thing is, though? Tech's not any good. Like, it'd be one thing. I guess it's a hostile environment.
Are you mad because I got the first F-bomb out in this podcast?
No, I'm just sick and tired of people acting like Tech's just some kind of, I don't know.
Look, West Virginia took him to the woodshed in the first half, and then Bowman got hurt, but they still got within 7 by the time that game was over.
It's a tough place to play because the fans are loud and stuff, but usually Tech's not any good.
The fans aren't loud; they're dicks.
With that said,
right,
I might pick
There's
Tech
difference.
this week.
But I respect. Look, Tech fans, if you're listening, I respect your dickedness or whatever you want to call it, your dickness.
It's just trash. Is what it is, to be honest.
It's all the kids that couldn't get into Texas or Texas A&M.
Yeah.
No, that's the reputation.
No, that's the fact.
Josh McQuiston is joining us as always as well. Josh, good Wednesday to you.
I'm here. I'm here for this. I'm very interested to see how this goes because I'm with Eddie. I don't know that Tech is any good, but I can still totally see this game being a problem for Oklahoma.
Oh, absolutely.
So I don't know how I feel about it.
I mean, are we going to forget that this team cannot defend big receivers?
No, that's the thing. It's like OU's going to have – I would be very surprised if they held Tech under – I don't know.
30, 35?
I was thinking yardage-wise.
Okay.
I don't know about points. I mean, 35 points probably be fair.
Yards, 500 yards.
500 yards?
I think that's the over-under.
Over.
I would go over right now. I mean, you can't sit here and say, unless you're just a massive OU homer, that OU's going to shut them down. I mean, there's been nothing we've seen over the last 2 weeks. They haven't played an offense. I mean,
I got an argument
TCU
this morning.
and K-State are 8th grade offenses.
I got not really an argument, but I talked down to somebody this morning because there's OU fans that have gotten all excited over the last 2 weeks that this defense has looked so good. The goal was never for this defense to be dominating. The goal was never for it to be a top 10 defense. The goal was simply to have a defense that could get off the field and get a couple more 3-and-outs a game, that could make some stops in the red zone. I mean, we're not talking about going into being a dominant defense. We're just talking about being better than the defense that they had last year in the Rose Bowl. That's all you need.
Yeah, you need 2 or 3 more stops a game.
You need to be
they're
sound.
They're not shutting anybody down.
You need to tackle. And they're doing that. But guess what? Tech is going to make some plays in this game.
And if they all of a sudden start shutting teams down, there needs to be a review because there's been a serious point-shaving scandal.
And they got to try to get a turnover here or there. That's still something, even with Ruffin. It's just not coming together.
No.
Which
Well, even
the ball
TCU
has been
gets
in their
them two
hands.
that they should have had.
exactly. I mean, they gave them two.
Buki
and
had one.
Houghton
had
Buki
one.
did not take advantage of it.
Trey Brown has had a couple opportunities here and there.
And with all that
Houghton
said,
could have called fair catch.
Yes.
Yeah.
with all that said, they have made some nice adjustments and progress. I mean, they're tackling people.
They're
That's-
flying to the football.
I'm more on board with this defense than I was last week.
Robert Barnes has been fantastic in terms of run support for this
sure,
defense.
sure.
Because
But
guess
this is
what?
where-
He's not 5'10" and 180 pounds.
But
This is the game where it flips around.
Exactly.
It's almost
But
better to have
There's a
those smaller
very
guys.
large danger of that happening.
Yep.
And you might need Justin Brown. We don't know if Buki's going to play on this Wednesday. Lincoln was very up in the air kind of on
coy.
Monday. Yeah.
Very, very coy.
I'll say this:
when Eddie has that video.
Which I've lost all my trust now that Trey Sermon played last week.
yeah, that was insane. We talked about that on the post-game podcast. When I left practice yesterday, I left early, a little bit earlier than you guys. I saw Buki walking around the facility down there below the stadium, and he was just wearing his jersey. It looked to me like he didn't practice yesterday. I'll say that.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll know more tonight. I'm sure Riley will not be tipping any type of hand, but it was interesting to me that, I mean, the guy was dancing on the sidelines. I don't think it's any type of physical ailment. I took it as some type of possible concussion.
I did
protocol
too.
type
right.
thing.
That was the first thing
But
I
Everybody
thought
said,
of.
"Oh, it was his shoulder," but he was swinging his arms
moving
when he
them.
was
Yeah.
The guy was
coming off the field. He walked off on his own.
dancing around the stadium.
Another
on
person was
Saturday.
like, "Oh, it was his leg," and I haven't gone back to look at it yet, but I think it's got to be concussion protocol stuff.
It's whatever. I'd be a little surprised if he didn't play, but we also sat here last week and said that there was no way Trey Sermon was going to play, and he ended up playing. So that was kind of interesting.
Why don't you guys have better inside information? What do I pay you for?
Because we don't care. How about that?
We care.
That's not a good answer.
I don't
do
care.
care.
I don't care.
Okay, so college football playoff rankings came out. We all kind of gave our thoughts on what would happen in the round table that we put out yesterday. By the way, I'm going to look that up. I picked 7th, I believe.
Yeah, I mean,
Did everybody pick 7th?
if it had to be 6 or 7, there's nothing else that even made sense.
I had them at 6. I'm surprised they're behind Georgia. The way Georgia just got beaten down.
I think
But they beat Florida.
because they beat Florida. They've got
Who's
their
not
resume-
any good.
but Florida's 11.
They were a top 10 team.
Florida's 11.
That's cool, but like I said in the post game, there's about 6 teams that are legitimately worth talking about, and then there's about 7 or 8 that are going to fill up that back half of the top 10. That they're a lot of years they wouldn't be top 10 teams. This is a really, really top heavy year.
I mean,
Florida beat LSU.
right.
yeah.
And you think about if Iowa State didn't come in at 24, OU wouldn't have a top 25 win.
Josh, they're in the SEC, man. They have to be good.
I
You
forgot
just can't-
that is a golden rule. I forgot that.
They have
Yeah.
to be good.
To me, yeah, I mean, I can understand how people are going to be SEC bullshit, but to me, it's all about OU's resume. That's what I said. It's just
right.
not strong
They
enough.
had one
Not
chance
yet.
against Texas, and they didn't do it. They've got chances
Now,
coming
the
up.
Iowa State win keeps getting better, and they're 24th, and at least the committee recognizes Iowa State's a pretty good team.
Which is nice because they're only 4-3 since they lost that game.
They got to stop getting shitty losses.
Well, since they lost the
Iowa and TCU,
canceled
just
game,
horrible.
they've lost that canceled game that would have made them 5-3. So they're always gonna have one less win.
They make that game up, though, at the end of the year, don't they?
In incarnate word,
I mean, it's
Who
probably-
was supposed to be San Diego's or South
Akron.
Dakota State or something?
I think it was Akron, wasn't it?
No, I think it was a Division II team, FCS team.
but yeah, West Virginia's in that same boat with the North Carolina State game. So now they're never gonna have as much wins as so that it would look better. Doesn't mean they're a better team, but if 9-1 compared to 10-1 looks just different in the eye of
Yeah,
people.
South Dakota State.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm reading the round table. Bob and Eddie both went with number 6 or 7.
Yep.
Come on, guys. We need to make a call here. Quit being pansies. Let's roll
I
with it.
actually put down a damn ranking, and you guys put 1 or 6 or 7.
Yeah.
Bitches.
I think it's ridiculous that they're even doing this early.
It's not early. I mean, it's 8 weeks into the season, 9
They
weeks into the
shouldn't. They
season.
shouldn't put it out until like the last 2 weeks. I think the college football playoff committee is the dumbest idea in
No,
the
you have to
history
put it
of the
out now.
NCAA.
You have to be
I
able
hate
to
the
hold these
committee.
people accountable. I mean, it's just like that shit that happened with TCU. I mean, where they were 2 going into the final week, and then they were 5 or whatever.
They went from 3 to 6.
Was that what it was?
It's a complete waste of time. It's a bunch
They're
of
gonna
old guys
do what
that,
they want. I mean,
yeah, I
at the
know,
end.
but I mean, it'd be more exciting if they put like Barry Alvarez on a 24-hour hot seat.
I do
as
wanna-
far as can this guy stay up for 7 hours at a time?
I do want to ask
Barry
Joe.
Cam?
I want to ask Joe C about his first experience yesterday.
give a shit about what he says about it.
Wow.
What time did you get
Eddie
to bed
is
last
surly.
night? He was at the Thunder game last night.
No, I think it's a waste of time. I really do. I think it's an absolute waste of time. It's a glad handling.
Most of America would disagree with you. They like polls.
Yeah, that's true.
They like to argue about this stuff. I like to argue about this stuff.
I think it's a waste.
Exactly.
I think
Eddie,
Notre Dame
this
got
seems up
screwed
your
yesterday.
alley. It's something to yell about.
If Notre Dame keeps winning, they're going to be in. Like, how did they get screwed?
They're
Why does it
undefeated,
matter?
and they're behind a team with a loss.
Why does it matter?
And
though?
their win is a good win. It's against Michigan.
Oh, Eddie, there are people out there that think like Oklahoma could jump Notre Dame if they both went out.
Oh, those people are stupid.
No, I'm telling you, like people that
doesn't make
know what they're
sense.
talking about.
That doesn't make
A
sense.
one-loss
They'd have as
OU
many
getting in
wins.
before before an undefeated Notre Dame.
They're going to have played more quality teams. Notre Dame's schedule does not look great. It looks pretty good in the preseason, but now USC
USC's
is
terrible.
a train wreck. Like, I mean, there are things that are not their fault
Clay
that are
Helton
going
might
to
not
get
even
held
be the
against
coach
them.
by the time Notre Dame plays them.
Syracuse
Yeah.
helps them though.
I mean, they're 3 of their last 4 games, and in no way am I a Notre Dame fan, but
No.
3 of their last 4 games are probably better than. I'm trying to think. I mean, Northwestern's comparable to Texas Tech, aren't they?
Sure. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Syracuse would beat Tech, maybe.
Maybe.
I mean, I don't know. I just, and I think Notre Dame's going to get beat one of these games too.
I do too. I think they're one of those teams that's pretty good at everything, but they're not special at anything. And
Right.
That's tough to win like that every week.
You put
Like,
Notre Dame on the same field as Oklahoma. I mean, Alabama and Clemson would smoke they ass for sure. I think OU'd beat Notre Dame by at least 10 points.
Yep. I think it'd be
And I don't
like
think I'm a big homer saying that
45,
either.
35 or something. But
Right.
I mean,
Well, Georgia is not nearly as good as they were a year ago either.
I still
that's
think
the thing. Nobody's
I think
responded
Georgia's
to.
decent.
The SEC's not that great this year. Everybody wants to like Kentucky. No.
Well, that's the thing is that, if Kentucky were to beat Georgia this weekend, just, live in a fantasy world for a minute, which I don't think is going to happen, that could really throw a lot of things. Or if LSU and Kentucky win this weekend, I don't know if I want to live in that kind of world.
Kentucky got lucky to beat Missouri.
Yeah.
Missouri's not a good football team.
No. That's what I'm saying. It's like, I don't
And
know
I-
if I want to live in
And
that world
Georgia
because
struggled
people,
with Missouri for a
people
while
will be
too.
pubbing Kentucky as a team that should have maybe an outside chance of getting in the playoff because they've only lost 1 game.
The thing about Georgia, there's a really good correlation to Georgia. They essentially lost a Joe Mixon and a Samaje Perine last year, and they have one really good back that's come back, but it's not enough to carry Jake Fromm, who is a play-action drop-back quarterback, who I love Jake Fromm. I think he'll play in the NFL. But they don't have the same type of offense. And they've got some good receivers, but they're not an elite offense anymore.
Well, there's a reason Jaden Hazelwood decommitted.
Yeah.
They're not putting up points and doing things. They're not dynamic offensively. They'll beat you just because they're so freaking talented.
But it does, right now it doesn't matter. Alabama and Clemson are the only 2 teams where you're just like, yeah, they deserve to be there.
And even Clemson, who's Clemson guy? They went to A&M. That was a decent win. They looked terrible, but they won.
Well, then
But kicking the shit out of Florida State like that
that was impressive. You're right.
Florida State's a dead football team, though.
I know,
but
but still.
they beat.
So if you beat a name team, you get extra credit.
I watched that game, and Florida State actually has a lot of athletes. Asante Samuel made some really stupid plays that opened the floodgates. And Florida State, they were providing a lot of resistance in that first quarter.
Florida State got beat by 30.
But that's what I'm saying. It was hard for Clemson to get up and down the field. They scored once, they scored twice, and then they boat raced them.
Hasn't Clemson beat 19, 20, and 21? Syracuse, A&M, NC State.
Yes, they have. They killed NC State, too.
There you go.
Murdered.
Yeah, you're right. I forgot about the NC State. That's a really good one. Let me just say,
I think
Trevor
that's my
Lawrence,
biggest problem is teams are beating shit teams and getting credit for it.
There's a lot of bad teams in college football.
I will say this. The decent teams that Clemson has played, except for NC State, they've been tussles. Syracuse and Texas A&M have been tough games.
Yeah. What were you saying about Fabio, Josh?
I'm just saying, my guy, everybody doubted him after the Army performance. Trevor Lawrence is just currently locking up his, I guess, what would it be? The 2021 number 1 overall pick. He just cementing that down right now.
I'm going to tell you,
that dude's a monster.
I've been his biggest critic.
I know.
I do not like him in a national championship game against Alabama.
This year? Oh, hell, I don't like anybody in that.
Well, I don't, but I think he'll fall apart is what I'm saying.
Oh, okay. That could be the one unknown.
If that game happens, it'll be over by midway through the second quarter.
It's going to be a Colt McCoy kind of situation, huh? Knock him out and it's all over?
No, he'll throw about 3 picks. Maybe a pick 6 in there.
So you think the Army game, it was the stage was too big?
Well, he did the same thing at 7-on-7 at the Open. He was terrible. Remember, Fields dominated him in that. His team did. Yeah.
At the same time, the guy won state titles in 2 of 3 years. His third year, he got upset in his senior year.
He's a hell of a quarterback. I mean, he really is.
I realize, and that was where when you were talking about it, it was always between the scope of either Fields or Lawrence. And I think Fields is really good. I think Lawrence is he's crazy. I've never seen a guy that the ball comes out prettier out of his hand. It's just perfect.
Well, that was my comparison. We had on our roundtable, we talked about longevity for Lincoln Riley, and I kind of made the comparison to Dabo Swinney. He's been there 9 years now. He won a championship in his 6th year, I think it was. But Clemson wasn't Clemson when he took it over. Lincoln Riley's Oklahoma went to the college football playoff in his first year as a head coach. So the way he's recruiting, it shouldn't take him 6 years like it did Clemson.
No. One of the stories I read about Lincoln and the Cleveland job, and I'm sure you want to get into that a little bit, but Dabo's name was mentioned. I don't see that at all. Dabo feels pure college to me.
Yeah.
I don't see him.
Although he is a CEO, though.
Yeah, that's because that was kind of another question. He was an OC, right?
He was a wide receivers coach. He went from wide receivers coach to head coach.
That's right. That's because Lincoln Riley is roundly respected at every level of football for his offensive mind. Dabo, you're like, well, what does he come in and make better the second he's there?
What would you say you do here?
Yeah, exactly. There's no arguing what he's done at Clemson. That's amazing.
He probably saved 3 or 4 Christians on the team.
So he's leading
This is why we get 2-star rate.
He's leading their FCA group in Cleveland. That's going to be his role.
They've made real big advancements. I'm talking about Dabo.
That is OG gangster, though. The more you're public about that stuff, the more you're cheating, the more you're selling stuff out of the back door.
See Hugh Freeze.
Yeah.
Reference Hugh Freeze.
See, I don't feel like he beats you over the head with it like Freeze did. It's there. Don't get me wrong.
I think if you covered him, on a day, I think that stuff gets thrown out there after practices all the time, to the local media.
Yeah,
right. Drops that stuff. You'd probably. If I covered him, I'd probably be like, really? I'm going the God thing again.
Oh, I'd kill myself if I covered Clemson because I'd have to kiss his ass the entire time.
You'd have to deal with the other people in the media there. Did you see that question?
The worst.
Yes.
The worst fan base reporter/reporters in the entire country reside in Clemson, South Carolina.
I might be able to find that audio.
I have it. Oh, you have the audio?
The audio?
Uh-huh.
Harry, I know you're still sore from the Florida group. Would you rank Clemson over Florida?
Oh, it's way worse. Yeah.
Really? Wow.
There is this father and husband and wife team.
Mm-hmm.
I had to sit next to him at the Russell Athletic Bowl, and I was already dying. I was so sick at that thing, and I had to sit next to him, and they literally cheered throughout the game.
Awful. They're so awful.
And that's not the only example. Like, they just let anyone cover their team.
I bet they buy their kids jerseys of the
Go
players.
to autograph day and get autographs.
I'm sure they do that shit.
Well, it's like
Tag
that
the players in their tweets and stuff with pictures of their kids dressed up as them.
It's pathetic.
I'll make this vow. My girls will never be used as relationship developers.
Hey, what? That's. I mean, that's pathetic in its own right. What are we going as for Halloween?
Yeah, what are the girls going as?
Yeah. Lainey is Wonder Woman. She was jacked to be Wonder Woman. I have pictures when we send the pod out. I'll put a picture up on Twitter so everybody can see her. She was pretty into it. Layla is poor Layla. She'll never forgive us. She's a pig. She's like a pig, and it's funny because like when she doesn't have the hat thing on, you can't tell. She's just like a big pink marshmallow. And then she puts the hat on. There's like a snout and ears like up above her like face basically. And it's pretty hysterical, and it worked out because like her little school, like they're doing a like a parade around like their parking lot and stuff where they all get to do it. And obviously Layla can't walk, so she's like in their little their little strap-in stroller things that they can walk around with. But she it's like an animal parade. And they're like, it's a zoo animal. I'm like, well, she's a pig. Is that good enough? And they're like, yeah, be fine. So Layla's going to be a pig amongst like lions and zebras and stuff. It's ridiculous. But yeah, so Lainey, and to her credit, man, she is all about her character. Like this morning I'm getting her ready and I said something. I was like, Lainey, come here. And she's like, I'm Wonder Woman. So she wants to be addressed as character. She has no interest in her name on this day.
There's no shame in that.
No, she's selling out to her role, and I appreciate that. That's big time.
Watch
Halloween used to be
watch
a
out!
big
Watch
holiday.
out for the marijuana edibles. Apparently, that's
People
a big issue.
don't do that. If you have marijuana edibles, you don't give them away. Like that
So
just
true.
makes no sense to me. That
If
that'll
you're
become a thing.
really high, and
No, you would never do that. You would
Hey,
never do
I
that.
check my kids' baskets. Anybody in this neighborhood that has one to give away, give it away. I'll find a good use for it.
Yeah,
But-
I hope that happens to me.
Exactly. That's a problem I can deal with.
That's better than
So-
Christmas. Gosh. That triggers me every year.
I guess so.
Like, watch out
why,
for
why would people do that?
pot edibles.
Yes, why would somebody do that?
Eddie, you're not even on the app of Nextdoor. Nextdoor is something.
Oh boy, yeah.
It's like for old people to like, because there's not a week that goes by. There's a
I've heard about
suspicious
this,
black car sitting down the street. Yeah, it's the cleaning lady. She's there every week. Like I'm waiting for the day because like sometimes Lainey will want to ride around the truck, so we just ride around like a circle, like this little quarter-mile circle in our neighborhood. She gets to sit up front. She thinks it's the greatest thing ever, and I'm waiting for someone to be like, there's a suspicious large blue truck circling my house. They may be casing the place. Like it's always in like 1950s vernacular of the dangers of, robbery and stuff. And I'm like, we live in the boringest, most quiet suburb in Houston, and everybody's like, crime's on the way.
It's like a group text for old people that don't know how to text.
Exactly.
Basically, is what you're telling me.
Oh, there was a lady. I don't want to get into it. Let's get. I'm going to totally lead us off course, but there are some crazy people on Nextdoor.
I can only imagine.
This fine neighborhood talk is only made possible by the Choctaw Casino and Resort in Durant. They are the title sponsors of this podcast. They make this all possible. It's a fantastic place. I'm telling you, if you want a great place to go see concerts in the state, their concert venue kills everything that I've been to. I mean, it's a true concert venue. It's fantastic. A lot of great acts. So check the schedule at ChoctawCasinos.com. I know they've got some other stuff. You could use SeatGeek to get the sold out ones too, because they've got a lot of big acts that come in there in the Durant. But I've stayed out there. It's a fantastic casino. They got stuff that I haven't ever seen at other places. They got this. It's a horse racing track. Like it is, you bet on the horses, but it's all animated, and it's just this giant bubble, and you all sit around it, and you can bet like win, play, show and stuff. I can't remember what it's called, but it is freaking amazing. So a lot of great games. They got craps out there now. They got roulette, which I actually played roulette recently, Josh, and doubled up on black.
You're welcome.
I hope I made you proud.
Is
that what you
as
always
well
go
as
black?
Wesley Snipes. We're both proud of you.
Is that why he's always in trouble with the IRS?
No, his line from that terrible movie. Always bet on
Passenger
black.
57.
I never saw that movie.
That's okay. You didn't miss anything.
Yeah, no, really, that line was the whole movie. That's the only thing memorable about it.
But yeah, the hotel out there is first class. The spa tower, it's brand new, 286 rooms. So Choctaw Casino and Resorts, the district, go out there, stay for a weekend. It's fantastic. A movie theater, bowling alley, sports bar. Be great for NFL weekends or college weekends. So thanks to the Choctaw Casino and Resort in Durant for making this all possible. Okay, you guys mentioned Lincoln Riley and the NFL stuff. I'm just going to play that for you, and we can kind of get through this real quick. But here was the question from Mr. Ashbeck to Lincoln Riley about the Cleveland Browns job.
Job. Do you have any interest coaching the NFL?
Knew that was coming. No, not right now. You sit there and answer these questions, and I always want to be truthful. The truth is, for me, is I love Oklahoma. I love coaching here. I love college football. I certainly don't have that itch right now. I don't know that I ever will, but I'm never going to be a guy that's going to stand up here and say, no way, no how will any of these things ever happen. I don't know that, but I know right now I could care less about the NFL. We're trying to win this game and trying to make a run that we all think we have in us right now.
And I think the thing about Lincoln is, like, he has been here for a little while, but we just don't really know him. I mean, like,
we still don't know him.
You're defined by your actions, so you don't know what he would be willing to do or how much he, you think he's. I know everybody jumps to conclusions. Well, he's a small town Texas guy. He was, born and raised out of the air raid. He's just not interested in the NFL. Like, we don't know that for a fact.
The only thing I keep saying is he loves recruiting, and the day he doesn't is the day he bolts.
I would agree. I think that there's something to him wanting to build something of his own, too. Bringing in his own guys.
Yeah.
Building a recruiting class, this 2019 class particularly, that's loaded offensively. It is funny, though, that it's like, why would he want to go to Cleveland? But the Cowboys. He grew up in West Texas, and everybody that grows up in West Texas is a Dallas Cowboy fan. I wouldn't want to work for Jerry Jones right now. Now,
I don't know.
Pay me $10 million, I might. I'd probably do anything for $10 million.
But basically, being the head coach of the Cowboys is like being the president of Texas.
Yeah, I mean, I understand it. I just think that, I think it's crazy that, not crazy, but, I mean, he hasn't even finished his second year as a head coach.
We do know that he loves being an offensive coordinator. He loves
there's no doubt that
designing offenses, implementing offenses. He loves all that stuff.
You can hear the passion in his voice again whenever he mentions that stuff.
Barry Trammell kind of followed that up, just saying, "Hey, okay, great, you love Oklahoma, you love OU, but why?"
Well, Oklahoma has been great to me. They didn't have to give me a shot 3 years ago, and certainly didn't have to give me a shot a year and a half ago. And so it's something I'll never forget because opportunities like this are, I realize how lucky I am to have gotten one, really two here. And I think we've got everything that we need here to be successful for a long, long time. Really like living here. I just like everything about this place, and yeah, it's just, they've been good to me, and we got a chance to, like I said, we're doing some great things right now, and I think the future is going to continue to get better and better. So it's just all positive in my mind. What was the first part of the question?
College football. What do you look back?
Yeah, I like the age group a lot. Now, like, these guys are kind of still in the middle between, being young, being a teenager, and then starting to develop into grown men. So it's a pretty impactful time for guys, and so I enjoy this part of it. Kind of enjoy the teaching where a lot of them know the base fundamentals, so they can, but there's still some just pure teaching and coaching that goes on. I like the atmospheres. I like the rivalries. I mean, it's one of the most popular sports on earth for a reason.
Again, not like I think the thing about Lincoln is we all know how well he does in the interview setting. Is it genuine though? Like, that's what I kind of wonder. Or is he just so good that he could say whatever he wants to say and we just kind of take it at face value? I mean, I'm not trying to accuse him of being a liar or anything, but I guess I kind of am.
We just still don't know him. It's his 4th year here and don't have a feel of who he really is. I thought maybe Eddie became head coach, he'd kind of open up a little bit more, give us more review of who he is. It just hasn't really happened.
Football coaches are kind of that way, though.
He's got almost more protective since becoming head coach.
The best way to describe a football coach is to say that he's a football coach. He coaches football. That's kind of all you really learn about anybody.
I will say the one thing about the Cleveland situation, I think Lincoln Riley is smart enough to not make a decision just based solely on wanting to coach Baker Mayfield again.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
I agree completely.
Like that whole connection, it's easy. I understand it, but I just feel like it's kind of lazy in that. I don't know who wants to go coach Cleveland right now.
Yeah,
that place is a disaster. I think
Although the GM, John Dorsey is very well
Taylor
respected.
Would be a great.
Yeah, I think Dorsey gives them a lot of credibility.
True. Zach Taylor would be a great pick.
That would be interesting.
Young head coach. He kind of mirrors what McVay's done. He's worked for him now for a year. I don't know.
What do you bet that whoever is hired will not be older than like 42?
Oh, I would.
Like,
there's a youth movement going on.
I would even say I bet he's younger than. I think Taylor's 35. I'd say younger than 40 for sure.
Yeah, I almost went there and I was like, I wonder how many candidates would be real quality candidates in that range. But
who's the closest thing to Lincoln Riley in college?
In college right now?
Yeah.
You mean like before OU hired him, or who is a direct comparison right now?
Who is a direct comparison right now? Scott Frost?
Matt Campbell in a way.
Yeah, Matt Campbell.
Yeah, and I've heard him thrown around in Cleveland as well.
You know what's funny? Matt Campbell and Matt Rule are both like names that come up a lot in NFL circles.
Yeah.
Matt Rule's real. Guys, the fact that Baylor is even fielding a functional team right now is
I'm not saying it's wrong. I think he's a hell of a coach.
No, I know. I didn't take it that way.
Yeah.
I'm just saying I think he gets overlooked.
Yeah,
I think
for sure.
Campbell is kind of the sexy name, but Rule's really good.
You know who else is a candidate in Cleveland?
I'd like to announce that I'm putting my name in for the head coaching job at the Cleveland Browns. You might be surprised who has signed on to be my offensive coordinator.
Grant, I've formally put my name in for the Browns head coaching job. Would you be interested in being the OC and maybe we get an apartment together with Baker?
I mean, yeah, I'm not opposed to it.
And you can put a bounty on this. Greg Williams will be my defense coordinator.
It's Cleveland Browns fight song. I didn't
Is that
know
what
they
that
had
was?
one. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, Eddie, I'm so proud. Like every time I think you can't outdo yourself, you go the bounty's just perfect. That's
good.
Genius.
It's pretty good. Baker Mayfield just recently commented on whether he wanted Lincoln Riley in Cleveland. Said, quote, "I love Link, but we have what we have here. He's doing his thing. I'm doing mine." End quote. Basically opens the door for Grant and I.
That was Grant Calcaterra, by the way.
Grant Calcaterra, yeah.
Eddie, would you like to comment on why you'd like to be roommates with Grant Calcaterra?
I think we know why.
Seconds.
Yeah.
I believe is the phrase.
That pays.
Send him over. Knock twice.
Yeah, but I mean, like, and we gotta try to get it back on track.
Good luck with that.
We kind of touched on it, but like, with whether it's Cleveland or Dallas, I don't think and I know Barry Switzer commented on it, and I know it's going to be blasphemy to a lot of OU fans, but he says some stuff that I really disagree with. In this situation, I totally agree with what he said. Neither of those situations are you like, yep, that's a winner that just needs the right guy in charge. Like, Cleveland, I can kind of get there. As long as Jerry Jones is running the ship in Dallas, I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah.
Like, at least he can be the owner. That's fine. Loudmouth owners win all the time. Like, that's not that big of a deal. But him running the front office, you're not going to win like that.
That's it. It's not that he's the owner and that he's a loudmouth. It's that he wants to be so hands-on that, I mean, what's Jason Garrett been referred to as it for the last, 8, 9, however many years he's been down in Dallas? He's a robot.
And it's fair.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think there's anything. I mean, because
no doubt.
Garrett's like the embodiment. Like, he grew up in the Jerry Jones Dallas Cowboys, like literally from player to coach. And the one time since Jimmy Johnson left, or since Switzer left, that they've had any real success was when there was a guy that had a big enough ego and a big enough backing to come in and be like, no, we're not doing any of this crap. And Bill Parcells ran the show the way he wanted to, and they got back on track. And, I mean, when Romo left, that was kind of the last remnant of the Parcells era.
Now, with all that said, I think it's completely naive to think that Lincoln Riley's going to be here for 19 years.
Agreed.
Like, I definitely think that the NFL will be something that he wants to tackle at some point.
How much do you think is it?
Welcome to the college football.
Sorry. I didn't know it would do that.
Mm-hmm.
No, I was just trying to get the audio for the stupid.
The stupid question
Clemson
is worth
fan,
it.
yeah.
It's definitely worth it.
Okay, well, let the stupid question play.
Well, we're talking about the Cowboys and Lincoln Riley.
Okay,
We'll
now
move on.
With Lincoln, how much do you guys think a role? Because I know that was something that got brought up probably by Bob as much as the media talking about it. Having young kids was a big deal. Like, I like it in Norman. My kids are comfortable here. They've grown up here, that kind of thing. How much is that a factor for Lincoln? I mean, because obviously the NFL is a very different animal. And even if he's successful in 7 or 8 years, the numbers say he'd probably be looking for a job.
It's probably not a good time with very young children.
Yeah. I would almost think that it's a better time now than when they get older. And, I say older, I say that
Middle school
when they're starting to develop friends and
exactly.
get around people. I would think now would be the time to do it because you can pretty much pick up your kids right now and go wherever you want.
They are not attached.
They don't have a school that you. I mean, I'm sure that the older daughter does, but I would think that it'd be easier to move her now than maybe say 4 years from now when she does have lifelong friends.
The one thing I don't buy is the whole, you wouldn't want to. Norman's a perfect place to raise a family. Like, if you have money, you no matter where you are, it's going to be a perfect place for you to raise kids.
Detroit can be homey, and with enough money.
Absolutely. And by the way, let's not act like the public school system in Oklahoma is doing just tremendous right now.
Well, Norman's so hippity dippity. They kind of take care of their schools. The city does.
Yeah, that's true.
The property taxes and all that.
It's so good that.
But you got to put up.
Send their kids to Mount St. Mary's.
But yeah, I don't buy into the. It's a great place to raise a family. Would want to take them out of here right now. So yeah, you won me over. I'm on your side now.
I don't know. I just think that we're a good 2-3 years away from it really. Like 2-3 years, I think it'd probably be fair to shit your pants right now, thinking that Lincoln Riley could be moving on.
If this is year 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And you know what? After going through 19 years of Bob, not that I didn't really like covering Bob and covering his teams, covering him, I mean, I think it ended up where he got comfortable with the media and we got comfortable around him. I don't know if it's the best thing for a program for a coach to be around that long in this day and age of age of Twitter, the age of instant gratification.
I would absolutely say that that's the worst thing that could happen to a program.
I mean, Josh and I can are experts in this subject, like just being in this business of running SoonerScoop.com. Like, there was a certain point where it got bad for business that Bob had been here for as long because people just got I don't know, Josh, what would you say is a way to describe it without offending anyone? People just got
complacent,
sort of.
Apathetic.
Apathetic is
well,
what.
I definitely think, like, looking back on it now, especially too, there was some complacency, and as much as like when you were in it,
from the coaching side, I just say the fan base, they get apathetic because it's just like the same thing over and over. Here we go again. Now, I will say this: like last year, from a business perspective, was one of the best years we've ever had. Just the change, new coach, Heisman Trophy winner, and that's not to say that we didn't have great years. You know, like the Rhett Bomar year was a great year business wise when he got kicked off the team because the team did well, and they won a Big 12 championship, and it was a great story. But, yeah, there was a time when just business kind of lulled, excitement lulled. And when I say business, I'm not saying selfishly from our perspective. I'm just saying we can see the fans' interest through our business, through how many subscribers we have or how many people are canceling and things like that. Like, it was, Josh, I'd say probably 2014, after that 2014 season, the interest pretty much flatlined in this program.
Oh, I mean, and I think people, obviously it's our job, so we're going to show up, we're going to do the stuff we need to do, that's fine. But it's hard for us, like, as maddening as the board can be sometimes with the fervor and the we're mad about this, whether it's, them mad at us or mad at something on the coaching staff or whatever they're upset about, at least you care. At least you're invested. When there's just they're just going to screw it up again. Like, it's just like a fan base that just like shrugs its shoulders. That's really hard to I'm obviously moving to my office desk chair and sitting down, but that's hard to come into work and be like, let's get it today. This is going to be great. It just becomes stale. And I think part of it too, Kerry, it's not just about because you can do things to keep it interesting for longer and some of those kind of things, but it was also that the whole staff was pretty much the same thing. Like they were the same, for you guys, you're talking to the same DC, the same OC, the same position coaches. I mean, at some point, you just don't have a lot of new stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
And if you want to go deeper on
it, got stale.
We obviously don't want to go deeper on this subject, but I think that's why Baker Mayfield endeared himself so much, because it almost felt like he saved the program as far as energy and everything that goes into that.
Eddie, I want you to pull out your phone.
Okay.
I would like you to open up your SeatGeek app.
Close out Pornhub real quick.
Sponsored segment.
Okay.
So if you go to SeatGeek, get the app, put it in your phone. SeatGeek, if you haven't heard us talk about the multitude of times we have, SeatGeek allows you to buy tickets to events, sporting events, concerts. I mentioned Choctaw Casino Resort. Like if you want to go out and see Chris Stapleton, well, all his concerts are sold out, but you can still go to SeatGeek and get tickets to it through their marketplace, because what they do is they pull millions of tickets into one place just so you can find seats for the price that you're willing to pay. It shows you, where the seats are, whether it's a good deal or not, if somebody's fleecing you, or if it's actually market value. So what you do is you go get the SeatGeek app, you pull it up, you make your ticket purchases, and enter the promo code SCOOP, and we'll give you $20 off your first purchase. Like, the reason I wanted Eddie to pull up his phone, because last time he did this, I'm going to pull up mine too, I told him that it will link to your Spotify, your Apple, and find out what music you like. So then it'll tell you what concerts are coming. And Eddie's concert listing last time was for a Christian rock band. So I'm curious, what's the first concert listing now? You got to go browse by category concerts.
I just went to popular favorites real quick. Favorite performance? Is that where I'm supposed to go?
Hold on.
I mean, I've
got popular events.
I don't have any music on my phone.
There's popular events.
I've got concerts down below it. It's down below
concerts.
Popular this weekend.
There's concert sports. There's tracked by your friends. We've got Elton John.
Yeah, I've got Elton John as number 2 on my list.
So who's your first concert that it shows you?
Travis Scott.
Country?
No, the rapper. Travis Scott.
Travis Scott. Oh, okay.
Pretend you know who he is, Kerry. Go ahead.
No, I do. My nieces listen to him. That's the only reason I know why. I have Ariana Grande.
Yeah, she's going to American Airlines Center.
Well, she's at Chesapeake May 23rd. With her Pete Davidson tattoo, I'm sure.
She might have it removed by then. She dropped his
She
ass.
can afford to remove a tattoo. I don't know if he can.
Probably not.
JT, Justin Timberlake, coming January 26th.
The originator of different things, different jokes.
All right, so go get the SeatGeek app.
It is really easy, though. I've used it before, and it's fantastic.
Hey, just as a quick,
tickets.
easy plug.
Plenty of seats for Bedlam, too. I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah.
Plenty of seats.
If you're going to be in Dallas for December 1st, Big 12 championship game, December 2nd, Browns at Texans. Just come on down I-45, catch Baker Mayfield on Sunday.
Nice. By the way,
right
you're
there.
probably going to need to use SeatGeek because all the damn Texas fans bought up the tickets after they beat OU.
Yeah, I don't think that they're going to be there.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They're not going to be there, but they have all the tickets.
Unless they want out.
What do you guys like this weekend in that one?
I think West Virginia. I think Will Greer's going to
West
throw
Virginia
for a lot
at
of yards.
Austin, though, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's in Austin.
Boy, I
What's kick on
rewatched
that?
that
Is it-
OSU game. Their defense is not good. Texas's.
Oh, yeah, that's not supposed to happen. I thought Todd Orlando had reinvented the wheel.
But it was everywhere. It was running. And Brecken Hager is not a good football player.
But he's a really smart one.
His brother was so much better than he is. The one that played at Baylor.
Texas is favored by 2 right now. I like West Virginia this weekend, though.
I wonder how big of a deal it was with Boyd and Davis being out in the first quarter.
I think Texas is going to lose 2 of their next 3.
Well, did you see Emmanuel Ocho went after Boyd?
He sure did.
That was a mess.
So don't worry, the trainer was there to save him on Twitter.
Really?
I didn't see
Yes, one of the trainers went back at Ocho, and I'm like, and Ocho's like, look, man, I'm not calling anybody out by name. I didn't go
that wasn't
way
Chris
with it.
Boyd that told him to keep his mouth shut and don't come around practice? That was
Yeah.
the trainer
No,
that did that?
that was Chris.
No.
Oh, okay.
Boyd did too, but one of the big trainers down here in Houston came at Ocho.
Oh, a trainer. I thought you meant like a medical trainer.
No,
Like a
no,
team
no.
trainer. I was going to say, Ocho should have told him to go tape somebody's ankle and shut up.
Yeah. That's what I thought you meant too.
No, sorry. When I say trainer,
Is that when all the trainer hullabaloo started this week?
Maybe. I commented on a different guy here in Houston.
Okay, that was a completely different situation.
I think that's a good. But my comment to him had nothing to do with the other.
Okay,
guy.
I got you.
Okay, I found the Clemson question from the college football
Nobody
playoff.
in the world that thinks more of themselves than the high school trainer. You don't do anything.
So let's move on. College football playoff came out last night. Sooners were 7th. Clemson was number 2 behind Alabama, and that triggered I don't know if I definitely need to use air quotes, a Clemson reporter into air quotes. And you'll have to I'm hoping this is where it starts.
Your first question is from Trevor Groves with CUTigers.com.
Hi, Rob. First, just want to congratulate you on your first ranking as committee chair. I'm curious about ranking Alabama number 1, Clemson number 2, despite the fact that Clemson is the only team in the top 10 for total offense and total defense. Opponents this year for Clemson 38-16 versus 29-28 for Alabama. And the fact that Clemson has the number 1 differential in total yards allowed versus total yards gained. Is it just the common opponent with Texas A&M? Even though Alabama had them at home, Clemson was on the road. Was that the primary reason that you put Alabama ahead of them?
Well, thanks for the question. It's never just one thing. Obviously we look at the data.
So I don't know that we need to hear the rest of that, but my God,
It sounded like he was interested in the answer, though. He hadn't made up his mind yet.
Yeah, exactly. Was it just this, or was it that, or was it this, or but they were all talking points for Clemson football.
It was such that's the definition of a loaded question.
Fanboy question.
So pointless.
CUTigers.com.
So pointless. Even more pointless than the committee putting out a ranking this week is the little press conference that they do, or the teleconference that they do afterwards. Because
my God.
It changes every year and every week.
Well,
there's no rhyme or reason.
You don't know what's going to be the key word. Body clock, game management. What's going to be the word of this year?
Well, see, that's the problem. The problem is the setup, not the timing of delivery. I don't know why they got rid of the BCS system, because you put those two things together and it makes sense. It works. Because at least then there is a standardized, this is why we do the things we do. This is our issue.
No, I could tell you why, Josh. Mark Mangino once said it, $signs.
Oh,
It's
no,
all
no.
about money.
I mean, like, as far as why the needle seems to move from year to year, because it's gonna. They're different people, so they're going to value things differently. That's just human nature. That's understandable. Right. But if you'd had it as a computerized system to where, okay, strength of schedule counts for this counts for that counts for that, and just done it that way, at least then everybody knows year to year this is what we're playing with.
Or then you had Kelly Bryant miss the Syracuse game last year for Clemson, so that became a talking point. You just don't know from year to year what you need to be looking for.
OU's excuse should be that they were missing their defense coordinator at the OU Texas game.
That actually was asked. That wasn't like, how is OU going to be viewed after a major change? He kind of just talked around it the entire time, but
here it is.
Okay.
How would you weigh OU's loss to Texas, for instance? If OU's defense made improvements after making the change in defensive coordinators, and do evaluations change when there are midseason coordinator changes like that?
Well, we evaluate results, and if there are changes that change, results, then that's a factor. We don't look at changes and look back and say what would have happened had this change occurred earlier. The results are what they are. But when changes occur, we look at what happens in the next weeks after the changes are made.
When I go and get my sandwich, I don't judge previous sandwiches that were made before the one I eat. I only judge the sandwich that I eat. That's kind of...
Who's that, Rob Mullins?
Yeah.
Yep.
Thanks, Rob.
Well, I mean, what he did say, you got to read between the lines a little bit,
You
but
do.
he did say it matters that they change coordinators because we're now judging what they look like with a new coordinator.
Yeah, and if they win out, then you'll show a different side of the defense. You'll realize, okay, this is what this team really was.
Again, if they have a massive turnaround, there needs to be a point-shaving scandal investigation.
Yeah. I have no room to talk. I haven't even taken my medicine for saying that Kansas State was going to be a tough game.
Well, I'm where you were last week, Kerry. I think this is going to be a really tough game this weekend, just as far as I honestly, I have no idea what to expect out of the defense. And I think that's pretty fair. Like, they've put nothing out there that says that they can stop the pass.
They haven't been challenged since Mike Stoops was fired by a team that did all the things that screwed with them first.
They did to an extent against TCU, but they didn't have a quarterback that could get them the ball. I think Alan Bowman can get them the ball.
I'm going to get bold here. I think OU holds Tech under 450 yardage.
That's juicy.
I know that doesn't sound great, but in that game, OU wins by 3 touchdowns if that's the case.
Here's Lincoln Riley talking about this week about the challenge of Tech's offense.
I mean, I think anybody you play that's even decent at all on offense, you better play really good 11-man defense. If you don't, people are good enough that they're going to expose you. They're going to find your weaknesses, and they're going to continue to go at them. So I do think the fact that we're playing just better as a whole right now is the biggest positive going into it. It's the biggest reason why we've played better in the last couple of weeks, and we're going to need to obviously do it again here this week. Yeah, I mean, I'm always excited to see our guys get challenged. That's especially in great road environments like this. So should be a fun one. They've challenged everybody. We know we'll get their best.
There's no doubt. I mean, this is different. And at night on the road in that crazy ass environment with those people, you people in Lubbock, with your cussing, your food throwing. They're by the way, they're
just college students.
No. We've been in parts of Lubbock that we were scared shitless before.
No.
And some of those people show up to the game.
No.
There's a ghetto.
No.
In Lubbock. There's a bad part of town.
I went to Lubbock as a student a couple times. It's a fun-ass town.
Yeah, it is.
A college
if you
town.
stay
it is
on
fun.
campus.
I don't think I've been to these places.
But they will beat you to death with Buddy Holly's bones if you go to the wrong part of town.
Full disclosure, I was going to make a plane crash joke about Buddy Holly in my video this week.
Oh, my God.
Whoa.
He didn't die in Lubbock, so it didn't really work out.
Well, he died in a plane crash. He was born in Lubbock.
I know. I was going to say something about, the Sooners defense looking to not have a crash landing this weekend in Lubbock. Wink, wink, Buddy Holly. But it just didn't flow. And I wasn't able to tell the joke, so I had to tell it here.
I like that you, Bob and Carrie, this guy died, 60 years ago? And they're like, whoa!
My dad
it's
loves
too fresh.
Buddy Holly.
Too fresh.
He legitimately loves Buddy Holly.
We're just lucky that
Who
Brian
does?
Kelly
My
didn't kill
dad.
him.
Oh, okay. Okay. Personal thing.
Yeah, I mean, I like the Gary Busey movie.
Yeah.
I'm looking at crime statistics in Lubbock right now.
He really is.
Well, the one person that could give us more information on this is one of Tech's starting safeties, Dakota Allen. He was a statistic in that. That's truth. That's the truth.
I know.
We'll see. I was all over Iowa State last week.
You know what, though? I'm going to say this. Dakota Allen was the best
player.
thing about Last Chance U. I
he's a
couldn't
good football
believe
player.
that he was he did
story.
what he did.
It's a great story.
Because he's not an idiot.
It's a great story.
He was
Good
the one
turnaround.
guy that I felt bad for being at that JUCO because he was surrounded by morons.
And Josh, you remember his story initially, how when he went to OU for his unofficial and Stoops wasn't there, and he's like, why the heck did you invite me here if none of the coaches are even going to be here?
There is no greater sign of a player is going to be really good than OU shuns him when he visits. Because I can think of two other really good examples. Daniil Hunter, who was going to come to OU and commit, and I can literally tell you that's from his mouth. He was going to commit on his trip, and then OU wasn't going to have somebody there the day he was going to visit, so he canceled. And then 2 weekends later, he goes to LSU and he commits to LSU. And obviously ends up being a big-time player in the NFL, having a nice career. The other guy is the corner that was the first-round pick for OSU just a couple years ago, Justin
Gilbert?
Yes, Justin Gilbert. Showed up, didn't have an OU offer, came to the spring game, was thinking he was going to get an offer, and he was hanging around after the game, and he wanted to talk to the coaches, but the coaches were either talking to other recruits or he couldn't track Mike Stoops down. I can't remember what it was. There was some reason he couldn't get to them, and his ride was we got to go because he lived in Huntsville, Texas, so he's got a 5.5 hour drive ahead. So they get in the car and leave, never got the offer, and he really, again, from his mouth, he was pretty much planning to commit if OU offered him. Like I said, there's no surer sign that a guy's going to be a quality player than if OU screws them on their visit. That's just the way that seems to go.
By the way, Lubbock Police Chief Greg Stevens
Carrie didn't let it go.
said that the title, after Lubbock was labeled the most dangerous city in the state, said the title is based on the FBI's Uniform Crime Reporting Program and that it is misleading. I didn't hear
How
what
is
you just
something
said.
uniform
what would
and
help?
we look at everything the same.
This,
Crime?
Legalized
prostitution?
No. Think again.
Trying to think where you're...
Think dirtier.
Oh, God. Is this going to be just a complete bleep?
No. Maybe.
Go. What?
Build a wall.
Okay.
Got to build a wall.
Bill's not going to like that.
The guard's busy elsewhere, Eddie. You can't keep him out.
Build a wall.
Eddie is a guy who literally almost shit his pants when we drove too close to the border.
Oh, that was just more of excitement.
Excited nervousness.
That's always been an expression. I was so excited I almost shit my pants.
It made me a little nervous, and then we saw people on four-wheelers.
That was...
Because, when you're in El Paso, you get a real feeling for, all I can think about when we're in El Paso is the drug cartels are right across the street. Like the people that cut your heads off and put them on turtles are just right over there.
Then you start passing all the mattress stores, and you're like, "Yep, I knew it. I knew mattress stores were a front for cartels."
Is that why I paid so much for my mattress?
Probably.
Took out a home loan
Probably.
to pay for my mattress. Okay. Trying to get back on track here. The one thing, and I started looking up the stats. I did not complete my task. But Josh, you get to watch more games on the weekends than we do. But Wesley, Vasher, they have another big receiver too. Texas Tech, right?
Wesley and Vasher are the two that I think kind of lead the way. I'm trying to think of who.
Up season stats right now.
That's what I'm trying, because those are the two that, I mean, when you watch them, they make plays over the top of people. Like Vasher is in my opinion, probably a potential NFL guy. He's one of the more talented receivers they've had in a while. Now
Wesley is their leading receiver.
Yes.
He averages 122 yards a game. Then they have
Judean High is actually the second on the team in receptions.
And then Vasher is third.
High is 5'11", 190, so that's probably not the guy you're thinking of.
I think it's Henry. I think it's the Tajon Henry guy.
That's definitely not Tajon Henry. Tajon Henry's a running back that's about 5'7".
Okay.
He was a guy I covered down here. He went to Houston Lamar. That dude's a really good player. Like, that's like a throwback to some of those guys, like Torian Henderson, some of those guys that Mike Leach had that were just freaking good football players, but they weren't very big. He's that kind of dude.
Okay. But Vasher and Wesley are the two main guys.
Yeah. Oh, and they're good enough to give OU plenty of trouble. Interestingly enough, guys, and we've bagged on him a little bit, I was listening to an NFL draft guy the other day that literally has Hakeem Butler moving way up in his wide receiver rankings for next year's draft.
He's playing really, like, everybody after that game, like, well, it's just OU. He's starting to shred everybody now.
Yep. And I'm having to get used to it because I watched that Iowa game and he was terrible. But since then, man, he's been a player.
That whole team was terrible against Iowa.
That's fair.
My God, Tech has, like, some of these guys have to be running backs, but they had like 20 wide receivers on their roster. So Wesley is 6'5", 200. TJ Vasher 6'6", 190. But
hey, Alan Bowman has one catch for 10 yards, so keep your eye on that.
I did ask Trey Norwood about those big receivers yesterday. Do you have to get to a point where you're just obsessed with watching film on like Wesley and Vasher and the big guys that they have, to where you kind of know them like the back of your hand?
I think that comes with the week in and week out every opponent. I feel like that's how you get an edge on your opponent. Like I said, coming into a week like this with Tech's high-powered offense, their high-powered receivers, watching film on them, making sure you dissect them in each and every way possible. I feel like that is something that you have to be obsessed with, and that takes your game to another level. And I feel like the mental part, it's more than the physical part. So I feel like that's a very, very important part of the process.
It's Norwood. I would assume we'll still have Trey Brown. I don't know what's going to happen with Buki. If he doesn't play, I guess they would just put Justin Broyles in there, which is a bad matchup if he gets on one of those guys. Or if they do something with Motley. Maybe he becomes the every down extra guy. But it would seem, I don't know that there's another corner that could just do what Buki was doing.
It's going to be interesting just in that I think that, I guess this is a shot at Mike Stoops, but I'm interested to see if they try different things this weekend. Does that make sense?
I don't think they're going to reinvent the wheel stuff.
Yeah, but I don't think that they're going to reinvent everything and reinvent the defense. But I do think that they'll throw some different looks out there that we haven't seen.
Yeah, and maybe some different packages.
Yeah, for sure.
Because that's the thing that I've noticed.
They have showed
that the thing that really strikes me more than because it's a 4-man front, but really you still have Gallimore playing head up with the center, kind of playing a zero technique, maybe shaded a little bit to a 1. But it's pretty much all the same guys on the field. Except goal line stuff, I've been impressed with that. I like seeing them bring in 2 extra interior defensive linemen in those situations. But really, it's been, bringing, was it Mark Jackson and Khalil Houghton would come on together, and then they would go off together, and they'd bring in another two. But they've had pairs of guys that have come in different situations.
Been able to keep all those guys fresh, too, because of it. And that's what I wonder if they stick with that when things start to go south. Because things have looked really good, so they just keep going with it. What happens if Tech scores 14 in the first quarter? Then rotations get changed at all.
It seems like Q Overton's been getting more playing time.
He's a good football player.
He's a run stopper, Kerry.
Hell of a run stopper.
Time for something different.
Get to the fridge. Grab yourself a Native Amber, an F5 IPA, or any of the great Coop Ale Works beers, because it's time to make a toast to this week's player to watch.
All right, I got to give a shout out to all you guys listening. You're doing a tremendous job tweeting at us and letting us know what you're drinking during game times. We love to retweet you guys and get you out there. So appreciate all you guys for doing that. Coop Ale Works, Oklahoma City local craft brewery. Been around for 9 years now. We got 7 year-round beers, 4 seasonals. Eddie and I both have plenty of our favorites. We need to ship some over to Josh at some point. We'll meet up and get him a gift pack so he can partake as well. But yeah, go check it out. Now that the beer laws have changed, you should be able to find them. Yeah, I went to the cellar in Norman. They had like 12 packs of the F5 and the Horny Toad. I think Saturday Siren maybe even. So you can get 12 packs out there. It's pretty cool too. So player to watch. It's, to me, guys, doesn't it have to be someone on defense, or do we once again is this something that's more on Kyler Murray's shoulders?
It's kind of messed up to say it, but does Kyler Murray have to be that guy this weekend? Because for so many times it was Baker Mayfield, especially on the road, that made plays that ultimately won OKU the game.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that Kyler Murray hasn't done that this year. He obviously has. But in the one game that he didn't, they lost. For 3 quarters, I guess. I mean, he was tremendous in the fourth quarter of the Cotton Bowl.
Yeah.
But he threw the interception. He had the fumble.
I will say why it's different, because the offensive line has been fantastic the last couple of weeks, and I almost think they've always been able to run the ball on Tech. I mean, that's always been a staple of theirs. I mean, remember when Cody Thomas was the starting quarterback in this game, and he was awful.
Yep.
And Samaje Perine saved their asses.
I was looking at this the other day, just as far as
that was when Baker was a redshirt, or
he was sitting out.
Yeah.
It was 2014, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember how many carries Mixon had in that Mayfield-Mahomes game?
Well, he was the only running back available.
That's true. That is true.
Like 30?
He had 31.
Yeah.
He had 31 for 263.
Perine was out, and whoever else they didn't have.
Abdul Adams, I think. He had a reception, but they were like, let's go ahead and give it to the best player on the field.
But yeah, I mean, he was the only real healthy running back that they had. He had a whale of a game, but I think Kennedy Brooks and Trey Sermon are really going to determine whether they can extend a lead and keep a lead in this game.
Sure.
I know. I think that's, and I know it's going to be a player, but I kind of wanted to say almost like Lincoln Riley's play calling, just to see what he was going to do, if he was going to do some of the stuff he did against TCU, and to a lesser degree Kansas State, where they were kind of taking their time. They weren't in a big hurry. There wasn't that, okay, next play, and seeing if they would let Brooks and Sermon kind of bleed Texas Tech out a little bit and keep the offense off the field. Or I guess maybe more to the point, keep their defense off the field.
But you have to get a lead for that to happen.
Sure. I guess my pick it would be Jalen Redmond. I think he stunned me with how good he was against Kansas State, especially when I went back and kind of did the review and kind of broke it down. He was outstanding. He was everywhere, and he provides something that nobody else on that roster can provide if he can get enough snaps to make a difference. And I think that could be huge, take some of the pressure off the secondary. If he can find a way to create some pressure which TCU did a lot with Collier and Banagoo. So Oklahoma needs Perkins and Redmond to make a difference. I think maybe he's the guy. And I don't want to brag, but 2 weeks ago it was Kennedy Brooks. Last week it's Robert Barnes. So people out there, may want to jump on the Jalen Redmond bandwagon now since, I'm clearly on board.
I've been fairly shocked, along with you, Josh, just as much as he gave last week. Like, I knew that he was gonna be a good player, obviously, but we mostly saw him getting after the quarterback in high school. He played the run pretty damn well last week.
He had a play in the fourth quarter, and Eddie, maybe you got it on video. The guard pulls, picks him up, and really should have won by his positioning because he gets on Jalen's inside. Jalen kind of works his way around him, grabs the back with one arm, and drags him down for a tackle for loss. That's stuff that, like, you can coach and you can do all these things. There are special guys who can do stuff like that, and Jalen Redmond's one of those guys.
It's been a welcomed, maybe as much as a new defense coordinator. Jalen Redmond added to the mix has probably been number 2 as far as biggest things post Texas, and that's not even counting tackling like fundamentally like a JV team would be expected to do.
I'm gonna go Trey Brown because this is his.
You got to bring up the corners.
This is his night. He's been the best pass breakup corner that OU's had in 2 or 3 seasons. We've seen it before with the Baylor game. He's gonna need to bring it, and there's gonna be a lot of 50-50 balls. He's probably not gonna win them all, but he's gonna have to get at least like 3 or 4 pass breakups to deter the Red Raiders from always going to the deep ball. Because I just feel like they hit 1 or 2 early, they're going to keep going to it. And Parnell Motley, even though he's had some nice interceptions, he has that tendency for things to snowball. When he doesn't play well, he doesn't play well often. And if they start picking on him because they found some success, the thing could spiral out of control very quickly.
I guess I'm not really worried too much about the offense. I would tend to lean more defensively is where you need to look. I mean, look, the offensive line's playing great. The running backs have really emerged. Kyler Murray's a big-time player. We played it at the beginning, but him in this environment, I'm not too worried about, although it's something to keep an eye on, and here he was talking about it on Monday.
Type of kids, they go to school, they love the tradition, they love to be out there, and those type of atmospheres with big games. Played there for baseball, and they're pretty good at baseball, so it gets pretty rowdy. So I'm pretty, I know what to expect. I think it'll be fun.
Is that something you look for? I mean, you played in the Red River rivalry, but is this going to be something different for you?
Yeah, this is a little more, you got a lot of students that are, they're going to be rowdy. It's, this is probably going to be one of the most hostile environments that we've played in all year, and I think their team they feed off of that, their environment and the home stand. So we got to be ready to go in there with the mindset that this is going to be a 4-quarter game.
And for whatever struggles Oklahoma had, in the Red River rivalry, like you guys said, in the fourth quarter he was amazing. I would think that he learned something from that.
Sure.
That he can take into Lubbock.
I think any player, especially a player of Murray's caliber, I think I don't know if relishes this opportunity would be the right way to say it, but the louder the stage or the bigger the stage, I think the more it means to him personally. And I'd be very surprised if he went down there and turned the ball over 3-4 times, which would be an anomaly because he hasn't done it all year. But
and if
you get what I'm saying,
if they get Marquise Brown back 100% this week, that might be a guy to watch.
And Calcaterra's coming on. Finally have a stock up report for Grant Calcaterra. I'm going to give it to Bob just because not only do I believe that the cornerbacks are going to be a huge key in this game, and he picked Trey Brown, but the restraint that Bob showed to not name Charleston Rambo as his player to watch this week. Bob's on a serious man crush with Rambo, I think.
Am I?
Yeah.
I mean, I was the one that threw him out there.
Well, Bob,
he's stealing.
He's stealing your thunder. He's even asking about him in press conferences. He's obsessed with him.
Again, the trick play with Basquin, Rambo didn't work, but what's been the biggest difference with Charleston during the last month is he's starting to see the field more and more.
Yeah, he's practiced well. He's made a lot of plays on the practice field. When he's had game reps, he's gone in there and done a nice job. When we want to continue to get him more involved. He's a talented kid. We think he's got a lot of upside. He wasn't healthy early in the year, so he's back healthy now. Flying around, kid can really run. He's got nice hands. I mean, he's got an intriguing skill set. So we want to continue. He can help us right now, and obviously has a chance to be a good part of our future as well.
We talked about that actually, Bob. It was kind of strange because he'd been coming in early in games, earlier and earlier, and you were like, that's not by accident. Like, he's emerging on the practice field. He must be.
And it's good to see because you just get set, okay, it's Lamb, it's Brown, and then maybe Morris, Calcaterra. A.D. Miller's just there sort of lurking in the background if some of those guys need a breather. It's refreshing to see someone working their way back into first team reps, not just having it fall back when someone needs a break, but actually earning that time. And I know just based on the field, he had the drop against Florida Atlantic, then he had the drop with Basquin, so fans aren't exactly buying in. So I just wanted to hear Riley talk about it. And the one thing I didn't know, he mentioned Rambo being banged up during the first month of the season. Didn't have a clue that he was anywhere not close to 100% throughout this entire year.
And you can tell he's one of those guys, he needs some confidence. I mean, he probably has more athletic ability than we're seeing. And I think once he gains a little confidence, he's going to look even better. So, local basketball media day is going on today. You guys got to skip out to that. But Josh, Bob, anything we want to hit on with recruiting, road games? So I don't expect there'll be a whole lot. We were actually talking about this earlier before the podcast. Like, it does seem kind of like Lincoln and the staff, and you have staff changes. But everybody's kind of got their nose to the grindstone a little bit, just with football, not with recruiting.
And that's okay. I mean, they loaded up last year for Texas Tech, and they ended up getting Buki and Ronnie Perkins and Deshaun White. It's okay to load up for Bedlam as long as you're going to make it pan out. And I think that's what their philosophy is going to be. They try to do the brunt of the work between January and August, and then just kind of pick a weekend here or there during the season to really make it pop.
Well, and how many guys can you bring in? I mean, They've only got 4 or 5 spots left. So what do you have 30 actionable offers out there? No. So you're going to pick your right time. And just like you mentioned last year with Tech, Bob, they really kind of parlayed that into, these guys could all play together. These guys get excited about being together. Well, you had that huge weekend that paid off with, 3 guys who as freshmen are playing a role for Oklahoma defensively. So, I mean, there's plenty to like about that moving forward. But I think that, and I was, like you mentioned, Kerry, we were talking about that before the pod. I think that there is some, I don't know if it's completely intentional, but I don't think they're overly concerned about, okay, well, we got to have guys in this weekend and this weekend and this weekend. They're fine saying we want this to be our big weekend because we don't have that many guys, and if we can bring them in all in at once, we have more time to focus on other weekends on the game itself and doing some of those things or the few unofficial visitors we have in. They can really just supercharge this weekend and make it as fine a point as it can be, and then get back to, okay, now we're still chasing the Big 12 championship. We're trying to get in the playoff. I mean, I think Riley has done a really good job balancing. I kind of wondered about that after year one. Like, is recruiting going to become too big of a thing? I think he's done a great job making sure that recruiting stays a focus. But during the season, a lot of guys that are recruiting heavy, I think, lose focus a little bit sometimes on the team side because they're so worried about, staying up with their contacts and doing all that stuff that maybe some of the week, game day stuff doesn't get the attention it should. And I haven't seen any of that from Oklahoma. I think they've done a really nice job kind of balancing those two things.
I'm sure, it's kind of like people have gotten used to, like, if it's not happening on Twitter, nothing's going on in recruiting. But at the same time, the recruiting staff, Drew Hill, Annie Hansen, all those, all the assistants, they're sending out stuff left and right to kids. I mean, and Lincoln's a big guy on momentum, tries to build momentum in recruiting. Just really hasn't been a whole lot of. I mean, since that Texas loss and firing your coach, this game, if you go and you win this game, and you get ready to go into Oklahoma State, a big visit weekend, they'll have in college football rankings. You start creeping up. Let's say a Notre Dame or Michigan loses this weekend. Like next week becomes a really big recruiting momentum week, and they can capitalize on it.
For sure. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, we mentioned last weekend they didn't do much with 2019, but they brought in a few 2020s, and you even had Lincoln Riley just tell everyone flat out the commitment that we're still waiting to hear from is from the 2020 class. Just kind of remarking when he put the eyes out initially, it was right around the time. It was 31-14 OSU against Texas, and some people were wondering if he was talking about Texas, and Riley felt the need to clarify, no, it's about recruiting. And
I can't believe that
hashtag 20 deep. He let you know it's a 2020 kid.
I can't believe that I woke up on a Sunday and saw that crap had gone down. I mean, it's just like, it was so unnecessary. Everybody knows what the eyeball emojis are for.
I had missed the, what he ended up responding to. So I'm like, damn it, are there another set of eyes? Like, I was like, and then I had to I was like, no. Okay, no, this is something else. So it took me a minute to play catch up on that deal. As far as that goes, and I'm going to post this on the board because I just really got it right before we were starting to pod here. It looks like that will be decided probably before OU takes the field against Texas Tech, I think would be a safe way to say it. So I think OU fans are going to get to know who this is before too long. We should have some good content ready to go from it. I'm kind of excited about some of the stuff we're going to get to do. This should be something that is not like the last set of eyes that everybody's still waiting on. And, and in both cases, I feel like most OU fans, if they just trust themselves, they know who this is. Like, I don't think this – it's really funny because I didn't think the staff did much of anything to try to keep it quiet. And I don't mean, through back channels. I mean, watch who certain people retweeted. Watch who, the timing of some of those retweets were really interesting. I don't want to give it all away, but I think if you go back and look at some of the coaches, you might be able to piece together who we're talking about on these most recent eyes.
So you're saying just do a little critical thinking.
If you want to. And if not, then, hey, we're here for you, and we'll have all the good stuff come, this weekend. I also did want to say, as far as interesting momentum building towards Bedlam, our guy Adam Gorney, our West Coast analyst for Rivals, brought some news to the board the other day that there's a good chance Brew McCoy, the 5-star athlete from Mater Dei in Los Angeles, is going to take his official visit for the Oklahoma State game, which would give Oklahoma 2 uncommitted 5-stars likely to be on campus for officials that weekend with him and Evan Neal from IMG Academy. So not only are you recruiting 2 big-time guys, but from 2 massive programs. So, Oklahoma, I think anybody thinking the close of this is going to be kind of anticlimactic with Theo and all those guys already on board, I think you might tap the brakes a little bit. I think this could still be an exciting close. Now, those 2 are going to be tough gets for OU, but there are plenty of guys. OU made an offer to an Auburn commitment this week. So there are still plenty of things OU is working on to make some moves.
And in the most Big 12 thing ever, we don't have a clue when Bedlam will be. Not even a time window. Not even a couple of times.
In fairness to the Big 12, I can't believe I'm saying
oh, boy.
The SEC did the same thing this week. So
Big 12 apologist. Big 12 apologist Eddie Rodosovich.
At least with Texas Tech, we knew it wasn't 11. 11 might still be on the table for Bedlam.
I will say it's going to be interesting how all this recruiting works out when Lincoln Riley takes the New England Patriots job after Bill Belichick takes the Cleveland Browns job.
He's going back to Cleveland to finish what he started.
Heard it here first.
Okay, guys, the question from the Clemson reporter was really bad. Is it as bad as asking Sean McVay if he wants to be the next head coach of the Cleveland Browns? Why on God's green earth would he do that?
Is McVay the favorite from a couple of things I've seen?
Well, he was, and then they updated it.
Okay.
And that's when Zach Taylor became the favorite. I have no idea why that.
I think it's strictly because he's in L.A. and nobody's really caring about the Rams right now.
That might be it.
Yeah, because Cleveland's going to really impress him with that for right now. I mean, once they start winning, don't get me wrong.
I didn't know if there's a local tie somewhere. I have no clue.
I mean, he has a legit chance to go undefeated this year. They're that freaking good.
We do have this fine reporting from yesterday.
Eddie Radosevich wearing black today. I hear it's slimming, Kyler. Lincoln Riley is still the head coach at Oklahoma for now. I was first reported by my colleague Kerry Murdoch this afternoon. He showed up to his weekly media luncheon. Still the coach for now. I think he'll be the coach on Saturday when Oklahoma heads to Lubbock, a school that he went to, Texas Tech.
Damn fine.
My favorite thing is how you throw in very well-known facts.
Just trying to clear the air. It's called reporting.
He's at the
Reporting
airport.
101.
It wasn't just
But you do it.
not audio.
That is what you do when you report, but the way that you do it cracks me up.
Well, I'm just trying to get Gaylord on notice. I noticed that I was not invited to the pin ceremony this year. It's kind of interesting. I might have the biggest following on Twitter, but I don't get invited, and a local meteorologist does. I don't understand how that would happen.
Did you get started on Movember early?
No, I just haven't shaved.
Okay. Because it looks more like you've shaved at other places more recently than your lip.
Yeah, we're growing a little mustache. Trashier the better. I figured if we're heading to Lubbock, we might as well.
Okay.
You going for the Garrett Minshew look?
Yeah, kind of.
That dude, he should never shave that. That's strong.
You guys want to know that we got another 2-star rating?
For the post game or the 40?
For the post game.
Okay.
I would like people to fight fire with fire and make sure you go give us 5 stars. But this guy was a weasel. It's from Reformed Suitor. I think it was from Big Crimson TX, to be honest with you.
You can't just call him out.
Have opinions, but saw what happened to the last guy who gave it a 2 stars. Would love to hear a Bob and Josh only podcast.
Oh, that's why. Okay.
That's
I
gotta
can't
be
lie.
Big Crimson
There are
TX.
fingerprints that seem right there.
What? At least hide yourself. Is that it?
That was the 2-star. We did get
that was the comment.
Yeah, that was the whole comment.
2-star.
And then he gave it a 2-star.
I think so.
I'm going to review your review. How about that?
iTunes doesn't let us do that because I would have reviewed a lot of people by now.
Can I review his review?
On the podcast, sure.
0. I'm giving it a 0.
1 star is as low as you can go.
I'm going 1 star then.
Okay. Reform Sooner.
Like, that's the thing. Like, people that come after me on Twitter, at least make it count. Offend me.
I've got one that can offend you.
Okay.
I think it might be on the unofficial 40, though.
Oh. Well, that's what we are on.
Oh, no. Well, yeah, that was the Bill Jawin guy was the one that called us 40-year-olds. The bunch of 40-year-olds.
Take offense to that.
I find it funny that Kerry brings that up, and he's the only one that qualifies.
Okay, as Kerry looks for that, Josh, you going anywhere this weekend?
Yeah, the plan is tomorrow night I will get my first look at R.J. Henderson this year. My first really look in almost a year since he and I were just never at the same camp things. I would show up at something and he wasn't there, he'd be there and I wasn't, just kind of one of those things. So should be my first look at him. There is still a possibility that he doesn't suit out this weekend. I think maybe he's having to re-ingratiate himself. I don't know what the story is, but there is still a percentage chance that he won't go. I don't know if I'll go to that game anyways because Kempner, who he does play, has a Oklahoma offensive line offer, but the kid's committed to A&M, and I'm not really – I don't know yet how much of a priority that will be. But on Friday, I locked in. I'm going to see Princely Umanmielen. I'm not quite sure how to say his last name. The defensive end offer from Manor, Texas that OU offered back in the summer at the Houston Satellite really has come on really well. I think Oklahoma got out ahead because they offered him before he really had a lot of them, and I think they clearly lead right now. I think he's even a guy that you might be on commitment watch with. But I'm really anxious to see him after seeing Alfred Collins a few weeks ago, another Austin area defensive end that was really, really good. But I actually talked to a guy, Mike Craven, a guy that works for the Statesman, and he saw them on back-to-back nights. He actually liked Princely a little bit more. So I'm kind of anxious to see him. They're going against Hutto, who's undefeated. It should be a good test for him. And really, like I said, is one of OU's primary defensive line targets right now.
Bob,
you don't need more time?
Bob, I'm ready. Bob, anything? We're going to Lubbock, so there's nobody to see.
Yeah,
because it's Lubbock,
and this is the last week of the regular
not to
season.
Get murdered while we're there.
Here, so I don't know.
Should be pretty easy.
We're still contemplating if we're going to try to see a game Friday.
Somewhere up Friday.
Yeah, we're
not leaving till Saturday.
We're still thinking about it. I mean, the problem is if you see anyone in this metro area, you're sort of just taking a flyer, like on a Dom Richardson for 2020. You don't know if OU's really interested. Quantrell Walker, 2021 running back. You don't know. He's a kid still from Stillwater. He like OSU. That might not even be worth it. It just feels like we can't be out there enough because OU hasn't really recruited the state for 2019, and the 2020 kids are more on the east side more than where we're living.
Have you seen Gundy's kid yet?
Gunner? No. And that's why that might be a reason to see Stillwater too.
I'd like to see him.
They are the number 1 ranked team, and they're 9-0, and they look damn good.
All right. I want to try and soften this up a little bit because this is a really bad review.
No, I like it. I think I'm going to enjoy it.
I don't know if you will. Here's a rip on Josh to start with. I don't know this is from Jim Ross, but it says, banging for Scoop, 5 stars, JR's Barbecue. Great info, even-keeled, mostly on topic, and hilarious when not. Only complaint is that Josh talks too loud. And there's a wink. So I don't know if that's a rip or he's trying to make a yell-talking Josh. This one is The Goats, 5 stars, by Jim. Look forward to listening every single week. Eddie makes the podcast 6-star worthy.
Thank you.
That's the butter yep. Now here's the bad one. Eddie keeps great podcast down, 2 stars. By Diamond Dave Sooner. Must be a big Van Halen fan.
Oh, I'm so hurt.
I enjoy the podcast to get my inside Sooner football and recruiting news. Bob and Josh bring their solid recruiting and football knowledge to the pod, and Carrie gives the scoop of what's going on inside the Sooner program. However, Eddie doesn't bring much to the show other than lowbrow humor, insulting comments of people, and averages an estimated 4 to 6 F-bombs or other colorful language per pod. I guess that makes him feel like a real man. Man, this is really going after you, even though he doesn't give a rip what anyone thinks. I just want him to bring some solid OU content to the pod versus what he currently shares. If you want a 5-star pod like we expect Lincoln to recruit 5-star athletes, then Carrie, fire Eddie. Lincoln had to make a tough call, and I think you do too. God.
I'd say that's pretty fair, pretty accurate.
My God, that's a lot of Eddie in there.
Well, who was it by?
He really doesn't like you. Diamond Dave Sooner.
Diamond Dave Sooner.
See what else he's reviewed.
Diamond Dave Sooner, guess what?
Nothing else.
Oh, boy.
Oh, hold on.
I'm still here.
That's the only review I see he has.
Okay.
I'm still here. Is that it?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Well, here's my response.
Oh,
okay.
Suck my Dave. I'm still here.
Hey.
You asshole.
The literal next most recent review, The Goats, 5 stars. Look forward to listening every single week. Eddie makes the podcast 6-star worthy.
Yeah, we just read that one before we read the
Did
bad
I miss
one.
that shit?
No, read it again. Read it again. Read it again. Read it again.
But no, I mean, like, that's the thing, and I get into this with people on the board, and it's the same with the podcast when I get into, I'll run into people and we have conversations about it. Not everything we do is going to be for everyone. Like, it can't be. Like, there's going to be stuff you like more than other things or stuff you don't like as much.
It's a melting pot.
Does it really bother you that much? Like, you can still listen to Bob and I, and if you hate Eddie, okay, just, zone out for a minute when Eddie's cussing at somebody. That's fine.
I mean,
and
people like Big Crimson TX go out of their way to make up names on iTunes just to come on and say that they only want Josh and Bob to do a pod.
Yep.
Best part is, thanks for listening, Dave, because I know you're listening this week again. And you're going to listen next week and the week after that. You're not going to stop listening, and I'm going to still be here. So guess what?
I'd also like to say,
I'm big, you're
Terry's
small.
Partner, Eddie's not going anywhere. Eddie is liked and wanted by the staff here. So you got people. Stop calling for that. There's tough calling.
The podcast has never been more popular.
It's like
it never has.
It's like what is it? Oh, it's like the Matilda when Danny DeVito's yelling at Matilda.
Yeah. You love that gif back in the day.
I love that part. I'm big, you're small.
There is something.
I'm something, you're nothing.
Yeah.
I have a podcast, you don't.
A very popular one. Probably the most popular one in Oklahoma.
So that's okay. We'll talk to you again next week, Dave.
There's one thing I want to address. 48 Laws is the name. His title of his review is fine. It's 5 stars. So I appreciate that. He said he made an iTunes account just to say, please put the podcast on Spotify and add an RSS link that can be used across all the different RSS and podcast programs. We have submitted the podcast to Spotify twice now. So I'm trying to work with our host company to see if there's some way to do this. If I have to, I will buy another account on another hosting platform that will submit it to Spotify for us. I don't want it to get to that point because that's throwing away money. But we do want to have the podcast on Spotify. We've gone through all the correct channels, but we keep submitting it. We never hear anything back from Spotify. So maybe we could start a Twitter campaign to tag them or something.
If you hear me typing, that's what I'm doing right now. I'm reaching out to Spotify via Twitter.
But
hey, people out there, really get ahead of Eddie on this. He's going to say something terrible.
No, I'm just asking him how the biggest podcast in the state of Oklahoma isn't on fact.
2 of them.
2 of them.
Yeah.
Fact, and fact.
So
please retweet Dave. I know you probably follow me on Twitter as well.
I love how you say no. Tell me. Read it to me.
I do.
And now you're going to spend your whole day being obsessed with Diamond Dave Sooner.
I think it's great. I think it's funny. I like when people don't like me.
But you really don't. I say the same thing.
No, I do.
I like fighting with people on Twitter.
It fuels me.
I don't, but I do it anyway.
It fuels me. I think it's fun.
Okay.
I like it when it's going on. After it's over, it's like, why the hell did I do that? That wasn't worth all the time I put into it. But in the moment, I like to
I don't fight with people on Twitter anymore.
I really don't either.
Eddie's better about that than we are, Carrie. And frankly, you're better about it than I am. I'm always into some shit on Twitter.
You like to fight about professional decorum on Twitter. Josh will get into that fight anytime. I will fight anyone that comes after any of you guys to the detriment of the site. Probably.
Yeah, it's like you end up making you a bigger asshole than they were accusing us of being.
I don't like them, and I really don't like him.
The thing about Josh is when he's going back and forth with someone, he's got to quote tweet it, so we have to see
quote tweet. Well, because I want everyone to see, because usually
I'm the same way.
If I respond, it's like, okay, your point was okay, but it's wrong, and I'm going to tell you why. If I quote tweet you, I'm like, everyone needs to see how stupid you are. This is the stupidest shit. Stop talking.
Exact same thing that I do. Everyone, look how stupid this asshole is.
Yeah. I love the crazy people. Because I guess I assume everyone's going to enjoy it as much as I do. Like when that dude, the thing about a month ago with the guy he was an OU alum, and so he had given more money, and we needed to stop charging because he was an OU alum.
That guy was an idiot. And that guy, by the way, admitted he never went to OU.
Yeah, and he pulled out.
I offered him to give him a tour of the campus because I went there, and I could do that. He had never been there.
He blocked me, and I was legit sad about it. Like, I enjoyed that.
Here's the thing. Here's my pet peeve lately is, and this guy did it, is when you fight with someone and they're losing the fight, and then they pull out the veteran card.
Yeah,
like
that's-
last-ditch effort.
it's bad.
I'm sorry, I'm just a veteran who enjoys your work or something like that. And you're like,
bad.
dude, don't bring being a veteran into this.
Has nothing to do with
that's kind of like using your kids, Zach Smith. Just it's shameful and lowbrow. Like, that's cool that you're a veteran. I've got lots of family members that are veterans. If my brother's a veteran, if he acts like an asshole, I'm going to say you're an asshole.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing. Like, handicapped people can be assholes.
Yeah. Like, I mean, it's okay. You can do that, but that doesn't absolve you from your action. It's like when it's always like when somebody dies, they start painting you as like this great person. I'm like, no, they either were or they weren't.
That's because Timmy had turned him in for steroid use.
Timmy had to turn him in for steroid use.
Timmy!
No, Jimmy was cheating on Special Olympics. You can be an asshole and be handicapped.
Would you rather be a transvestite and win the LPGA championship, or be
I'm listening. I'm in.
A little off and win the Special Olympics?
Ooh.
Transvestite.
Yeah. I want all my mental faculties. Yeah, I want to
I think that's
operate.
probably the right answer. Okay, I was just wondering.
Deep thoughts.
It's not really, is this racist? It's, is this insensitive to handicapped
Is this just
people?
wrong?
Yeah.
Is this just insensitive to like lots of people?
That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
On that note, Bob and I have to go.
On that note, we are done. So appreciate everybody listening. Thanks to Choctaw Casino and Resorts and Durant, as well as our other fine sponsors. We'll be taking the Eskridge Lexus to Lubbock this weekend. You will be getting a post-game podcast as well. And a reminder, this keeps coming up on the board. There's all kinds of weird crap going on with Google Play right now. Android users, we are recommending Stitcher as your app of choice. It's very solid. It updates, works really well. You can do 1 times, 2 times, all that stuff. You can speed up your listening. So Stitcher, go download that app, search out Oklahoma Sooners, and you'll find both our podcasts there. So thanks, Josh. Thanks to Edward R. Dosovich, as I'm now calling him.
I like that.
Do you? Thanks to Bob Prispillo. I am Kerry Murdoch. We'll see you guys back here next time on the next edition of the Choctaw Casino and Resorts Unofficial 40 Podcast.